sounds from the rhythm underground. Welcome to the We Love Guitar Nerds podcast, your place for all things guitar. We have your interviews, we have your lessons, your boomer discussions, and your verbal rabble-rousings. So please hit subscribe, share, and like to join our constantly growing musical community. We Love Guitar Nerds. We welcome David Granati, Pittsburgh-ish.
Yes.
Pittsburgh-ish. Beaver Falls. Where are you at now? Where are you located right now?
Ambridge.
Ambridge.
It's off the airport area.
Okay.
I like to call it Cambridge without the C.
Yeah. So I am from Cambridge.
Yeah, it's an American bridge. We actually, it's famous for bridge making. Brooklyn Bridge, Golden Gate. I mean, all the killers, they were involved in all of them.
Yes.
We have too many rivers here, so it's a good place to have a bridge company.
So for everybody who doesn't know, and I'm sure David, you're a lifetime guitar player.
Sir.
It's probably like 12 years of age or something like that. Granati Brothers, G-Force, all the way through adulthood. You write songs, you produce songs, and you are passing it on to the next generation. So what I want to do today is I want to get your story. Then we want to talk about what you're doing currently. But let's start let's go back in the time machine. Let's go back to the beginning of your musical memory. Where did it all begin with you?
Okay, my grandfather listening to music and watching him tap his foot.
Okay.
Amazed at that. And then he was like real old world Romano Italian. You go to his house and he had shortwave radio with the opera, and you could smell De Nobilis, and that's the twisted little Italian cigars.
Uh-huh.
The house had a scent to it. It was always like a combination of chicken soup, De Nobilis. So I've been around music my whole life. My dad played music. It's on both sides, back several generations.
Yeah. What did your dad play?
Had no choice.
Yeah. What did your dad play?
Drums. And my mother sang. We had a great uncle who was a torch singer, kind of late 50s, early 60s, was on Johnny Carson a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
I had to deal with RCA. Then he met a very rich lady from Texas and retired.
All right.
Good move, got out alive.
Right. So now, you come from a family. Not only does your grandparents and your parents and all that and your uncles, and not are they musically inclined, but your brothers.
Yeah.
Are you the youngest?
I'm the youngest. Yeah, my mom kept doing it till she got it right.
Okay, that's my mom too.
Oh, my brother.
When did you first get into guitar?
I always wanted to be a singer at first, you know. Okay. My brother Joey was the next in line. We're the closest in age and in the songwriting team. He'd say, "You should play guitar." "I don't want to play guitar." And then, I don't know, just one day I decided to do it, and the timing could not have been better. Woodstock movie had just come out, and we sneaked into the Route 51 drive-in, and everybody kept saying, "Oh, wait till you see Hendrix." I mean, Hendrix was good, but that was far from his best performance.
Yeah.
The Who's what really got me. "Listening to you, I got the heat."
Right.
Them and Alvin Lee, man. I remember thinking I will never be able to play that. And as soon as I got adept enough and got a reel-to-reel tape deck where you could
slow it down. Yeah,
you can slow it down in half. And I learned it note for note, man. That and the end of the King Crimson. Remember the end of 21st Century?
Yeah. That's probably the extent of my King Crimson knowledge.
That one, and then the other one I always wanted to learn was. Richie Blackmore. there's a lick he does in there, and I was like, what would make him play something like that? And then I heard it on the Jimmy Smith organ record. I'm a little slobby, but
Yeah.
love Richie Blackmore.
So your musical heroes early on, Alvin Lee, Richie Blackmore.
Yeah, yeah, but Beatles more than anything. My brothers and I watched the Beatles on Ed Sullivan together.
Yeah.
And we were all on our Sunday night, just freshly out of the shower, Fruit of the Loom underwear. We're all sitting in the living room, and I saw that changed my life.
All right. So how did your parents respond to that?
Oh, they loved it.
Right.
My dad, of course. That's not music. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We had a really hip uncle that was we ended up buying him a jukebox because he helped us build road cases for our first tour. But he was totally into like all the old music, so he was the one that brought the Beatle album to the house. And man, that was it. From that minute on, I wanted to be like George Harrison.
So that was the Beatles. The Beatles and Ed Sullivan was your ground zero.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, we're the only band that actually watched them together at that age. You know what I mean? Maybe the Jacksons or the Gibbs.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just an amazing thing. There's a great sidebar on that. During the Beatles' first performance on Ed Sullivan, there wasn't one crime committed in Manhattan during that entire hour.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of like, remember when James Brown, when every other, like in Boston, all the cities were burning.
Yeah.
But James Brown was in Boston.
And he did that show. Yeah, that's amazing.
That show and nothing burned in Boston. So music has that power. So when did you what was your first when you started playing? Did you have a mentor? How did you learn back in the day?
I conventional. Those days you had some older guy with a Mel Bay book, as you know, and this guy and me, we got along like Arabs and Jews. Okay, he didn't like me and I didn't like him. He hated rock and roll, and he had me play.
So how long did that last?
A couple of months, but while I was playing, he would go.
That's what he was playing.
Yeah, I hated it. Now, in retrospect, I would have learned how to read music quicker and better because he was actually very classical was his first love, and I never knew that. He always played country, and at that time, I was like, I don't want to hear country.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Merle Travis.
Yep, but he at one point told me to quit. He said, "You got a bad attitude, and this is how God works in my life. It's maybe a way better teacher. Yeah, you teach beginners.
I teach all levels.
Yeah, exactly. As you know, guitar with the physical curve. Just the first time you try to play, and they would always teach you this chord. This is a hard chord to play. The C major and the conventional. Okay." And so you need a lot of encouragement. It's easy to give up, especially if it's physically painful and you're playing something you don't like. It's like that's 2 strikes before you even swing the bat, And this guy, I wanted to learn a Santana song because I saw Santana at Woodstock, and that was another life changer.
Was like Soul Sacrifice.
I said, teach me that song. And he went, you're not ready for that song.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to an older kid in the neighborhood, and he showed me the A minor 7 chord. Man, it was like God came out and sat on my window. Then I discovered if you moved it down 2 frets, you got to change your evil. And that was it, man. So
it's You Come Ba too.
Yep, exactly. I do that in my set. But someone in for my lesson, and I blew the Mel Bay. And he'd say, "Did you even play your guitar this week?" I said, "Yeah." And I showed him. I had like the "Played Till My Fingers Bled was the summer of '69." I mean, I did. I had a big welt on my, from the side of my index finger.
From the bar chording.
From playing that bar chord. And he said, "Well, show me what you played." I did. and it made him really mad. Now, in my opinion, he should have said, "Hey, that is really something. Why don't you do that and your melody?" But that's when he told me I had a bad attitude.
Yeah, that is a. I have a similar story. That was my shop teacher showed me how to play "Dust in the Wind." She showed me how to Travis pick,
Oh, beautiful.
and I was like making it sound like machine gun fire, but I was only doing it with my thumb and the index fingers. I took that to my teacher, and she blew a gasket, and it's like we have no, you have no idea how this stuff's going to affect you, but that has to be 40, 40
This,
years ago.
actually, in
I'm
retro,
talking about this 40 years later. How
yeah,
that
exactly.
kind of
Amen.
that kind of energy is like, you know.
But it made me a much better guitar teacher. That's
Yeah.
how God works in my life because I will never let a kid quit like that, and I would never discourage somebody that wanted to learn. Especially nowadays, they have so many resources with YouTube and Ultimate Guitar.
Yeah.
Uh, so what I typically do in the first lesson, get them on, get all four fingers working,
Hmm.
teach them down up picking. Then
I heard that. Yes. You
yep,
started with Crazy Train.
yep. And it's perfect because you say, okay, those are quarter notes, 2, 3. Now this is a 1 and 2. Okay, so you show them a concept of quarter note, eighth note,
Hmm.
down up picking, and it's something they can do. And
Yes.
anybody can play. And you ought to see the look on their face. They never expect to learn a song the first day. The next week, they got it down. I could
Yeah.
tell they played it over and over and over again. Then you're off to the races. You know, then it's on to.
Yeah.
It's very easy to play, and it sounds a lot harder. But
Yeah.
you see that look in their face, man. I get to see that look, and I get to see the look when I say, "Okay, I think you're ready to come to my jam." I've always done all ages open mics for like
Yes.
30 years.
I used to as well.
Yes, yeah, I have like scores of people that have had their first time on stage with me. I get to see that look in their face.
So we have a mutual acquaintance in Joe Chirilla.
Yeah, yeah.
The first time he ever played on stage, I think.
Mhm.
I'm not speaking out of term. Because we had an open mic in Red Lion, his hometown. So we did that every Tuesday night.
Well, I tell everybody I'm over 5,000 shows now. And I remember the first time I played in front of a crowd, I'd been playing like 6 months, scared out of my mind. Okay,
Hmm.
we played the talent show.
Yeah.
Right? Right, there's a crowd of 600 people, man. That's a big crowd for your first gig.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so we came out and we did this Paul McCartney song. And there was this little bluesy thing. I
Hmm.
remember I did that, and I heard, whoa, this whoop went up, and look, I still to this day, I get chills, okay? It was like every cell in my body was on fire. I never forget that. I remember what it smelled like. I remember how the sun looked coming through that window. I'll never ever forget that. So getting to be part of that for some of my students is it's sacred, man. I
Yeah,
think
yeah. So how long were you a teacher? When
I've
did
been
you start teaching?
very early on, like about late teens. Just
Okay.
on a couple guys in the neighborhood that wanted to learn how to play,
Yeah.
you know, or once we start playing, I started playing professionally at 16. I mean, like 3, 4 nights a week while I was still in high school.
Yeah.
So I had a following. So there were like a lot of younger players. Dude, could you show me some stuff? Yeah, come on up the house. And
Yeah. So you went professional with the Granati Brothers, your brothers.
no, actually, we had a high school band. We were called Oz.
Okay.
Remember, we did one gig and they said, Oz, yeah, or is it Ounce? My dad was there. No, it's definitely Oz. That was back when none of us even drove. We were like 15. We had to borrow my uncle's El Camino.
All right.
Way to, then he had a rancher.
So it was a cover band.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then
So
but we wrote a couple originals even at that age.
yeah, yeah.
Then we had like a high school funk band because this was like mid 70s, and there was a lot of dance going on. Unfortunately, it kind of morphed into disco, but there was like such a great R&B scene, like in the mid '70s, like Earth, Wind and Fire,
Yeah, yeah.
incredible. Stevie Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
So we did all that stuff, and we did
So you
Santana.
grew up in the right. I say this, and I sound like an old man. You grew up in the right time.
Jeff Beck had just done Blow by Blow, the whole
Yeah,
bit.
all this
Yeah.
stuff was new.
Oh man, I loved it. So we would play these gigs and say, "Do you guys do any disco?" And we say, "Oh yeah, it's all European. This is from Herbie Hancock." So we would do. It was basically jazz, and we would break it down and play the beats a lot straighter. Everybody thought we were onto this really
The
hip.
Chameleon or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we that was great music, man. I saw all them bands. There's a place here called the Stanley Theater. It's just an old school theater. It's still here. They turned it into the Benedum Center. But they do mostly, I call it the Shriek Center because they do like Phantom of the Opera. And I'm kind of
Okay.
crazy about that stuff. But it's a great old venue. And, I saw every one of them bands there. So King Crimson, Bob Easter Orchestra,
Yeah.
all great guitar.
Oh yeah, yeah. John McLaughlin, Robert Fripp.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So Robin Trower, man, just
Yeah.
very, very good stuff.
Dude,
Santana.
it was a great era. Great era to grow up. How important was learning covers in these years of your life?
That's what all our heroes did. Okay, the Beatles come along. They didn't write, so they would sing the Everly Brothers. That's how
Yeah.
they did that two-part harmony thing. Buddy Holly, and what I loved about them, McCartney, "Gonna tell Aunt Mary about Uncle Tom, oh baby." Okay, great song. He used to cover Little Richard, but then he wrote, "Well, she was just 17, I mean." Same key, same type of voice.
Yes.
It basically just, so the cover experience.
Reworking all the lessons learned from the learning the covers.
Yeah, or like Led Zeppelin, listen to like all the old blues stuff, and then just on their take on it. So yeah, I think it's invaluable, and it teaches ear training, and it gives you the courage to sing and play, and hopefully you develop your own style as well. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing with my. I have a rock academy. Which
Yes.
you must be aware of. We spoke, and for those about to Rock Academy, and we work. We obviously we do a lot of work, and most of it's charity work, suicide prevention, uh, all stuff like vital stuff in their age. Especially with the fentanyl thing.
Yeah.
So more than anything, it's the increased awareness. And they're like thinking, oh man, they see the old films, Woodstock and they're smoking dope and stuff. That you remember when it used to be like, oh well, at least he's just smoking dope. That's safe. Now even smoking dope is like just as dangerous because
Mm-hmm.
starting to put chemicals in the what's supposedly medical grade. Which,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of very healthy time that way. So anything we can do to get them focused, and you need a passion when you're that age.
Yes. You
You
need
had
something.
it,
You need
you know,
something to target in on.
yeah, something that you're
That is
passionate.
yours. It's
Yeah.
got to be your decision. But
Yep. And it's so funny. These parents will say, "I don't know what you do to get him to practice or get. All she wants to do is play her guitar." It's like, well, I find out what she likes, or what he likes. Always first lesson. Who do you listen to? Especially singers. I teach a lot of singing lessons.
uh huh.
And, who do you like? Tell me what do you want to learn? Instead of you need to play piano first. How many parents? We'll start you off on the piano, and if you do that well enough,
Yeah, yeah. Or classical guitar.
yeah. Oh, I know that was the other one. They would give this little kid a great big guitar.
Yeah, you want to play guitar. That's not what you want to. In other words, it's not the same instrument.
Yeah, I know. Fender owes me because I've sold hundreds and hundreds of
Yes.
Fender Squires. It's such a great beginner guitar. They make
Mm-hmm.
the 3/4 one. And, for about $180, you got an amp, a guitar, a pick.
Yeah.
You're off to the races. And most of them want to learn like Nirvana or the Green Day, something like that. You don't want to do that on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, unless it,
Well, eventually, if they stick with it, eventually every electric player has an acoustic.
oh, exactly. And I
Yeah, yeah,
learned
but yeah, so like having a the reason you start playing guitar, I remember some of my early things was my teacher. I wanted to learn Molly Hatchet, and her way of compromising was begin the Bijine, but the Cole Porter. I was learning how to.
that's a bit of
There's a
a
disconnect here.
yeah, yeah. It's funny you
There's a
mentioned
disconnect
Molly.
here, so it's got to be what are they on fire to? What is their music?
Right, yeah,
Provided there's guitar in it, and that's another thing.
yeah,
You
yeah,
try,
yeah. If you get near a guitar, go ahead and play it. Yeah.
you try to find music that has some guitar in it, because
About
not.
that, and the thing too, and that what got me in trouble with that same teacher. Uh, I had older brothers that played very well piano and stuff, and they would show me Beatles stuff on the guitar. And then they had a Beatle book at the music store where I took, and it was horrible. It wasn't the right,
Oh yeah,
and,
wasn't
or
the right keys. It wasn't.
they would do the generic, like the inversions of the chords, and which was so vital. The Beatles, out of all the stuff you learn from them, their use of chord inversions, and George Martin had a lot to do with that. But my favorite example was, okay, most of the time when you're figuring out what inversion to use, you typically the top note of the chord is the melody. Or any good
Yeah,
shape. You plainly hear the melody.
yeah.
But they did Little Help from My Friends, okay?
Hmm.
And Ringo has a lower voice, and he wasn't comfortable singing, so I get by with Little Help from My Friends. Oh, I get by with Little Help. He's the bottom of the chord.
Yeah,
Okay, I get by with Little Help, and they put the chord on top of it. That's
yeah.
brilliant.
You think that was George Martin?
I would imagine, yeah. Or the second verse of I give you all my love. That's brilliant. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. You are, okay. And those books didn't even get, like, they didn't have an inkling of it. And I remember I pointed that out to my teacher. He was like, "Oh, how do you know that? Can you read it?" Because I couldn't read it, it disqualified my opinion.
So that was the thing back in the day, and I love talking to people that we kind of have the same experiences. Back in the day, if you couldn't read it, it didn't exist.
Oh, exactly.
That among these people that in other words, and that's completely a misnomer.
Oh, I know. That reared its ugly head again later. About 10 years, maybe, yeah, it's a little better than 10 years ago. They started a really groundbreaking performing arts school here. It's called Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center. And I got in on the ground floor. I started the guitar program. And great success. My graduating class are all out. 4 of them are on tour right now with a country guy that's going to make it. The venues get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And they're all professional. They're all great. Leslie. But I'm with these guys that 2 of them had masters, 1 had a doctorate, and they would just, yeah, between us, we have more degrees than a thermometer. And they were always throwing it in my face. And they hated the fact that I taught in tab. Tab is the oldest form of music.
Lute music was written in tab.
Amen. Okay. And they just really, and I was like, guys, that's your bag. You do it better than me. Why should I try? Well, if you can't teach them how to read. So anyway, we butted heads, and they would bring that up. We have more degrees than a thermometer. And it was tempting me so bad to say, I've played 5,000 shows. I've played for 2 million people. I'm in 3 Hall of Fames. Screw you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would never do that. That's not my style. But after a certain point, anyway, we reached an impasse. It was kind of like, I have to change my teaching style or I'm out of here. I was like, yeah, okay, thanks for the ride. It was a great I mean, it served me well.
Well, that was really the beginning of the for those about the Rock Academy.
Yeah.
That was the
Uh,
you're gonna do it your way, because sometimes compromise is not a possibility.
exactly. But meanwhile, while I was there, I told every one of my advanced students, okay, enjoy my lesson, but go learn from, there's like Dr. Goodman, Dr. Homer, all these guys. Don't be a fool. These guys are giving you college level training. Because, even though I didn't agree with their attitude, their,
Hmm.
their, there's, their knowledge and their prowess, spoke for itself. And I'm the kind of guy, I give credit where it's deserved, or like, don't look at the messenger, look at the message. There's a lot to learn there. Don't be a fool. Go learn how to sing, learn how to read, you
Yeah.
know, and they all did. And the
Did you
music,
ever learn how to read past Mel Bay?
yeah, I did actually. I had a jazz teacher that I went to for a couple of years, and it was great. He just showed me all that,
Yeah. So
all
when
the.
was that? What years are we talking?
This was like not long. I was about 13 or 14, and
Okay.
I just gotten this killer guitar that a friend of the family knew it was worth a lot of money, but he said, I wanted to go to somebody who's going to use it. He sold me a Gibson ES 125 for $125. It had belonged to Joe Negri. And that's when I started to become a really proficient guitar player, really learn chord
Hmm.
structure and learn how to read well and actually score. Nowadays, I don't do it at all. It's
Yeah.
like use it or lose it. But in my work, I teach chord charts.
Yeah.
Because 9 out of 10 times, if you get a gig, somebody says, "Hey, can you cover this gig?" They're going to give you a lead sheet. Just say, "Man, if you can read a lead sheet, you're fine." And I like lead
Survival
sheets.
skills.
Yeah, yeah. And what's great about that, it's a universal script. The singer can follow it, a bass player can follow it, a drummer should, it gives you the tells you when the chords played versus the lyric. Okay, and
Yeah.
most stuff is pop music, so that you got to know when to do that. And that's I never discourage anybody from reading or say, "Oh, you don't need reading."
Yes.
I always
I
say,
think I think everything in its right spot makes sense.
"Amen."
In other words, when I say this, I don't necessarily think budding guitar players should start by reading.
No, God,
I don't think that survival skills.
yeah, I do the Suzuki method, and
Yeah, exactly.
like find your voice. Like their basic concept is when you're an infant, this is say dad, dad, you imitate
You absolutely
words, then you form sentences.
the mother tongue.
Right. Then you go to school when you learn how to read, then you learn how to write. Now, music, you haven't even played a note yet. This is a staff. Every good boy does fine.
Yeah,
It's like learning how to read and write before you learn how to speak.
like sentence like diagramming before they learn how to talk.
And, yeah, that's very true. And that's why a lot of people get frustrated. Oh, yeah, I played piano for a couple years. I haven't played in years. What a waste. There are a lot of bad teachers out there.
Yeah.
Not bad, just.
Well, yeah. In other words, there's a lot of old school. There's a lot of I don't know if they're. Probably getting better.
Yeah.
But the old school stuff we are talking about that still exists in a lot of other instruments.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, even some guitar players, even guitar. So yeah, as I said, learning to read as it makes sense to read. In other words, if it's stopping you from growing, then you do it.
Amen. Yeah. Or if you want to go to Juilliard, or if you want to go to
Yeah.
art, I mean, obviously, But one of the biggest resentment with these other colleagues of mine was, and I even understood it. You got about close to $500,000 in student loans to get that doctorate. Okay, now I'm waltzing in, with a high school education, holes in my pants, and I dress like I'd come. A lot of times I play a
You
gig.
come as you are.
Yeah, the night before, and I look like what I'm teaching. And they resented the hell out of that because I made the same money as them, which I can even understand. Too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. So all that experience is brought it to the point where you're well, for those about the Rock Academy, explain the genesis of that.
Yeah. I started that through the Lincoln Park experience. That's how I got the gig. I was doing an open mic. I had this very gifted student. He's the one that's out on tour right now. The guy named Charles Godwin. Very, very good artist. He's going to make it. But anyway, his name's Albert Torrance. And a little punk bought a studio right down the street that had all kind of vintage gear. And he's my main competition now. And it's a very friendly, very healthy.
Yeah.
There's plenty of work. Anyway, Albert, I love him. His mother's the one that hired me for Lincoln Park because he came out to my jam night and he was scared. And I gave him a leather vest to wear. He looked great. He looks like a younger version of me. Everybody thought
He's your son.
yeah. And she said, "Man, you were so good with him. We got this new school we're building, and we think it'd be perfect." And School of Rock had just come out. She said, "I want to do that." So my brother Joey and me did it, and we signed up 29 kids. It was a summer class. Okay. And by comparison, they had a guy from the Pittsburgh Symphony, a renowned violinist, had 3 students. And there was a flute teacher with a doctorate, 2 students. I mean, the writing's on the wall, you know?
Yeah. That is a thing now.
Yeah.
Those people, when we were kids that had the ivory tower jobs,
yeah, exactly.
are ineffective. They were in ineffective programs. That eventually colleges don't want to support somebody who's only educating 3 students.
Exactly. So yeah, it was a matter of.
Because it is a business, also.
This school is if somebody got accepted, their school district had to pay roughly $7,000 or $8,000 a year for them to go there. Okay, so I'm pulling all these guys in. Okay, my plus minus ratio is amazing. When I reached an impasse with them, I had to tell them, I said, "Man, I'm your best recruiter. I brought, I had brought over $500,000 into that school, and I was getting paid, $60,000 a year. So I certainly was putting in way more than I was taking out." But anyway, the academy thing was an aside. It was an elective, and they lost their funding for that type of teaching. They had to go a little more to keep their charter because all these other school districts, it got real political. But anyway, it got to the point where, man, I could just do this on my own. So I left, and I'm making I'm actually making better money than when I taught there. And I don't have to get up at 7 in the morning, and, and the menu's a lot better.
Okay. Yeah.
If you can see we're in my control room / kitchen.
Toaster. Yes.
Yeah, I got the copper chef and
the coffee machine. Is that a coffee machine in the background?
I have an espresso maker, and I've got a Keurig, and yeah. Now, food is actually a big part of what I do here. When I have my kids, we get together on Sundays now, and we have Sunday dinner. My girlfriend and me get up and we cook, and we break and tell them about washing their hands and staying hygiene. In this day and age, you can't think about that much. And we pray, and it's like a Sunday dinner. And a lot of these kids have never had Sunday dinner. It wasn't part of their thing, and the parents obviously love it. I'll call this guy back. He's another guitar player. He can wait. But anyway, it's a sacred experience. I mean, that's how I grew up. I grew up with Sunday dinner. So it's far beyond just I'm going to show them some. Led Zeppelin.
I love how the family aspect works its way into your program.
Absolutely, man. It's very much so, and
that's kind of unique.
Yeah, and I get a lot of brother-sister combinations. And I do an adult version of the Academy as well. It's called Long Live Rock Academy, which is our theme. Long Live Rock!
Yeah.
Great song. Great song. Anyway, in that academy, I have fathers and daughters, mothers and sons. It's great. It's multi-generational. And I mean, what kid wants to hang out with their parents when they're 15? and
Yeah.
these kids love it. And we do gigs together, and we got one coming up in a couple weeks, both academies, and we're playing for pizza and wings.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to satisfy.
Right.
But the food thing is, I mean, that's biblical. You break bread.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids don't know about good food, So some of them, I have a cookbook that I did with my brother Joey, and we've sold quite a few of them. I'll have to send you a copy.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah, Eric bought one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Eric's a good cook. Yeah, he's always cooking something.
Uh huh.
We're speaking of our friend Eric Chirilla, who introduced us.
Yeah.
It's his fault.
Thank you, Eric.
I'll be seeing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been threatening to get together and do a recording session for a couple of years. We don't have it. It's just we have you guys being roughly, you're central to Eastern, and we're way Western.
Yeah. So in your academy, it is part, you have songs that are part like that you view as classics.
Yeah, we
And
have
then it's part.
days. Yeah, well, we're calling for those about to rock, so we're certainly good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that one. We do shipping up to Boston, a lot of stuff. But we're real big on mashups and medleys, and we have a current one. So great, we got this little kid. I'm getting an increasing amount of kids, students that are on the spectrum of Asperger's and autism.
Yeah.
And,
Some of my best students have been
absolutely, they have fly
autistic.
papers.
Yeah.
I have a couple of savants. This little kid Julian, we call him Julian the Hooligan.
Yeah.
Best haircut I've ever seen. He's like 11 years old. His hair's all screwed up.
Yes.
He does it really well. He's a very good player and a very good singer. And he just got accepted to a school called Kappa, which is a premier art school here in Pittsburgh. Hard to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Proud of him. But we go from that to
Pink Panther.
yeah. I mean, I teach that. I mean, if you want to find out how you can be counterculture, I mean, that song astounds me. Everybody knows it. You can whistle it, right? But if you look at it on a technical level, okay, you go, okay, you've got it diminished, right?
Yeah.
Then he's got an augmented, okay? And so he's got a chromatic bass line, he's got a diminished and a chromatic figure in the melody. That is jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz as you can get, but it's like.
And you teach. The other thing is you're teaching your kids a little bit of swing.
Exactly. Oh yeah, we can hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more.
With that boom.
Yep. Oh, I know. That's just that is incredible music.
Yeah.
And
Henry
he's from
Mancini.
right over the river. Okay, I'm in Ambridge. He's from West Aliquippa. It's right over the bridge here. This little small mill town. Yeah.
Who's that?
Huge fan, Henry Mancini.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In fact, the school, the thing that funded my academy was called or the first rock thing that I did. It was the Henry Mancini Academy. It was like a subdivision of Lincoln Park, and that's who fed me the most work. And it was what a thrill to have that. That's something I'm super proud of.
Yes.
Henry Mancini's a giant.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
So-
can rock pop and classic.
So when you have these ensembles,
Yeah.
so when you have an ensemble, it is not an ensemble of just stellar people, and then you don't have a beginner ensemble. You put them all together.
Oh yeah, and we just figure out a part. Like the beginners are going.
Yeah. And it teaches them arranging.
Yep, exactly. Or we learned that if a kid can come on his first lesson and play. I'm a sailor's bag. I lost my leg. Come off the top cell. I lost my leg. note their way through it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I get into some really good, sometimes I'll have one of them play the third and one of them, do the major or minor third.
Harmony.
This is a little known fact. The big way they got that AC/DC got their guitar sound, Mutt Lang took the time to have them do the chords one note at a time. Because as you know, when you have majors with a lot of distortion, even if you're in perfect tune, you get modulation.
Mm-hmm.
So they would play one note at a time. Okay, so they're getting the major third.
Yeah,
They
C sharp
play
and
all three notes. Okay, well, I have the luxury of having like 10 guitar players, so we do some arrangements where we're doing one note. Like 3 guys are doing the root note, 3 guys are doing the fifth,
Yeah.
3 on the third, and it's an amazing sound.
yeah.
It's like true orchestra. You know?
And do you also do like rearranging?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and or we retune, because we have a lot of female singers, and they typically will do rather than capo, we'll just learn it in another key.
Yeah.
And and I'm showing them basic recording technique. We do a lot of work on.
So where you're doing this? This is your recording studio.
Yeah, that's where I'm at now. It's a Maplewood recorder, Maplewood Studios, and it's full functional. I have I have like the isolation rooms. I got the big main room.
Uh-huh.
I'm soundproofed because I'm right in the middle of a neighborhood, and I do very, very well here. I mean, there's something every day.
Yeah.
A lot of days I do the triumvirate where I teach, do a session, and then do a gig that night.
Yeah.
And it's great because I never burn out on any one aspect of it, because by the time the weekend rolls around, I'm ready for a gig.
Yeah.
When the weekend's over, typically then Sunday comes, and that's like the epitome of teaching, is to have those kids here.
Yeah.
It's such I get so many of the parents or people say, "Oh, that's wonderful what you do for those kids." Like,
Well, yeah.
what they do
It
for me.
should be noted. It should be noted that a lot of what you do for those kids has been more successful than like they've sent them, to psychiatric help.
Hey, that's one of my slogans, is cheaper than therapy.
Yeah, and that's a real thing.
Oh, amen. And it's without drugs. And, I especially do well with kids with attention issues. Okay, now part of it is because they got a bud in their ear and they're texting. Okay, and they got they're distracted.
Yeah.
They're overwhelmed with media. But
So a lot of the anxiety that today's
yeah.
I use I say this and I sound like an old dude, but it's due to all this overstimulation.
Absolutely, and that's not being old. That's calling a spade a spade. And I get them when they come here, almost invariably their grades improve. It's not a coincidence. I've been doing this for this academy for like 15 years now, and I got so many kids that have gone on and their grades improved, are the ones that were having the temptation to maybe get into drugs and stuff.
You've provided a target.
Yeah.
You provided a target, and it's like once people understand it, I have a target, something I'm working towards.
Yes.
Then they're not going to be as apt to jump off to things that poke holes in the ship.
Well, plus we had another one. We had an instance. We had a little girl who she had a lot of hair on her legs. Just given her background, it was just it was a biological thing. There was and they were making fun of her at school. And she went to the principal, and they didn't do anything. And she got all freaked out, so she tried to take it off with like Nair or something like that, and burned her legs real bad. Had to go to the hospital. Okay, so we all got together and we were like incensed, and so we wrote a letter, and and I told all these kids, something like that goes on, Okay, if the teacher doesn't listen and your parents and everything, you're not alone here. Okay, typically I have like 15 to 20 kids on a given uh, session. I say, look, there's 20 of you guys, there's 3 instructors, and there's all your parents. There's 100 of us. Okay, who's gonna mess with 100 people? Okay, and they get to know that, like with the bullying thing, particularly. There's zero tolerance for that because I'm a victim of bullying. You know,
Yeah.
I had long hair. You know, everybody made fun of my long hair. Then I cut it all off and looked like David Bowie. Oh, he's gay. He's this. And I wasn't getting high with anybody anymore because I got serious about the music. Oh, he's a narc. You know, I know that feeling. You know, and of course I went to my class reunion. Everybody's like, yeah, humping my leg and kissing my ass. Hey,
Yeah.
dude, you want to get high? I'm like, nope. But
Yeah. We're like brothers.
amen.
We had same
Oh,
experiences.
exactly. That's in the bullying thing, man. And
Mhm.
especially nowadays, because you see, like in the extreme sense, a kid that gets bullied to the point where he or she may act out and end up killing somebody or killing
Or kill
themselves.
themselves.
That's horrible, man.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Because a Snapchat post
yeah, yeah. Well,
because a Snapchat post is there's like a coping skill that is not acquired.
yeah. Or
You're
just
not able to see.
they don't have anybody to turn to. You know, if they turn to their friends, they might get ridiculed even more. Ah, you're being
Yeah.
some parents, you know, I think their parents are frustrated, you know, because that's your parent telling you. Because somebody like me, they think I'm cool, you know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like a role model. That's why I got to make sure I don't screw up. Would not be sending a good message, you know.
Yeah.
No, they'll confide in me, or particularly my main teacher beside myself, Kathy Stewart. Um, she's great because she's got the degree and she
Yeah.
can teach.
So
Right?
let's talk about that. So for those about the Rock Academy, it is your brain trust.
Yes.
But with that said, you have what 2 other teachers that you bring in?
Yeah, and, both female and both graduates from Duquesne University,
Okay.
which is a renowned.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do they bring to the table?
Okay, yeah, Kathy plays trumpet. So there are a lot of kids that age that, you know, they're in high school band and they're almost embarrassed that they play sax. They go, you know, I have to worm it out of them, you know, because their mom or dad says, you know, you can't have a guitar unless you play sax or
Yeah, yeah.
trumpet.
Well,
Like,
there
dude,
again,
that's
that's what we.
cool. Yeah, so we're doing
Yeah.
okay, and we have like 3 or 4 kids, and Kathy teaches trumpet, so uh, she brings that to the table plus vocal. She's very good with the singers. Plus, she's a girl, so the girls relate to her, you know. And then Julie Michael is the other girl. She's the script master. Julie has scripts for everything. She's the one keeps track of all the lead sheets, the lyrics, and all the other stuff. But she's
Okay.
godsend. She's been with me for 30 years. She
Okay.
started off as a 14-year-old. I took kung fu with her brother, and he said, "Hey, my little sister wants to play guitar." She was like 14, and she was like super shy and everything. And she's become a great teacher, and she's also very adept at Pro Tools. So that's what I work with her now.
So your studio is Pro Tools?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That- but it's great though because I have a collection of old guitars, and then you can see the Rickenbacker 4001 in the background. Um, I have my whole analog collection that this is stuff I've collected since I was a kid.
When did you start with like your studio? So when you started off,
I've had
what?
studios for like 30 years. So it happened like after our last record deal. We had a deal with Atlantic. I'm in heaven. Atlantic. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. We're
Like,
talking like 1987.
yeah, in the 80s. Yep.
Yep.
And they would typically record 20 records and release 8. And it was cheaper to not release something and write it off. So we didn't make the cut, so to speak. And in retrospect, God, it was the kiss of death because all the bands that made the cut ended up being targets for Beavis and Butthead a couple of years later.
Yeah, yeah.
Like White Lion, they're all good bands.
Winger.
Warren, yeah, Winger,
Yeah.
yeah, all good bands. But man, a couple of years later, they couldn't get arrested, you know.
Yeah.
So, and we were doing basically what we've always done, was like a combination of Motown and Beatles and Van Halen, you know, just like heavy.
I say I appreciate that about listening to your stuff. There is not one sound that is copied. It sounds like an amalgam, like
Ideally, but
yeah.
And the producer, we were like, oh God, that Beatles stuff is so passe. Oh, come on, man.
No.
You
When you say that,
yeah, you got to make it's going to sound more like whoever was big. They were actually telling us to sound like Bon Jovi, you know, and Bon Jovi's badass, you know, but the same guy signed them that signed us to A&M, ironically. And but they were saying, oh, that retro thing, or whatever. They didn't even call it retro at that point. Well, anyway, a year later, Lenny Kravitz came out with that breakthrough album. It was exactly what we were doing.
yeah, yeah, let love rule.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got so disgusted. I'm thinking, man, you know, those days the typical record budget was about $1.25. You know, you get about 125,000 to do a record. Like,
Which is amazing.
I could build a killer studio for that much. So
or less.
Yes, exactly. I built my place all with, you know, family labor, and I traded a lot of work, you know, and for about 50, 60 grand. And I mean, you know, and this place is fully equipped. I mean, I have Neve mic preamps. I got Neumann's. I got old RCA ribbon.
You learned like from very early on.
Yeah.
You started the studio like as a creative.
Oh, like, in our basement growing up, you know, we had the SDM, we had the 30, remember the 3340? We all had a 4-track, great machine. Then we went 8-track. Then the next one, then I built a place, and with my brother Joey, we had a Studer A80. You know, I had a Studer here for my first 5 years. The 2-inch, I mean, the machine of machines. I had I had the 800 that had all 24 VUs up top. That's the prettiest. That's the best 24 machine ever made. And you can't find tape anymore in the budget. Plus, you know, now 24-bit 96K resolution is still not analog, but okay, I think it costs about 5 times as much to make a record analog.
Yeah.
Okay, and it doesn't sound 5 times better.
It's better, yeah.
You mean that doesn't even sound twice as good. So at this point, more economic. And then if I need to, you know, I'll record some stuff analog at my friend's place and dump it into Pro Tools. But what I do, I analog it up as much as I can on the way in. I have killer mic pre's. I got these old Neumanns that I got from the 70s. And I've got 4 of those, and I've got 4 Neves. I got a Studer tube mic pre. So I can basically.
You do a lot of live recording, meaning
I
the
do.
rhythm section, we get the basic tracks done live.
Amen. Yep.
Yeah, because when I first started getting into it, we would go into studios, and we were the first band to ever do that. In every studio we went to, which is weird.
Well, I know. I mean, God, that's why I love the
because everything is since Pro Tools took over.
Yeah.
Like in our neck of the woods, Harrisburg, Baltimore area, PA. Since Pro Tools took over, it was a track by track kind of like hip hop kind of.
Absolutely,
approach.
Yeah. There's certain charm and merit to that approach.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing now in my living room.
Yeah, Lenny Kravitz, man, the American Woman. Yeah, that's just that's all pretty much him. And
yeah, well, first couple albums are all him. He was like Prince.
Yeah, and Beck was doing some real interesting stuff too. But yeah, so I'm doing a combination. I can basically record any way you want. I have my two main clients are both writers that don't play. So, man, this is a field day for me. I'm getting paid as a producer, an engineer, a facility, and a player. you know, and I end up doing most of the music, and then we cut everything, you know, with the Easy Drummer is a wonderful program. I don't know if you've used
I have it. Yep.
it. Fantastic. But
Yeah.
then I'll invariably bring a drummer
Yeah.
in. I got an old set of Ludwigs that are always mic'd up. And it's in my room, I have a 17-foot ceiling and it's all oak. And it's just, it's one, you know, it's like what we grew up on. You know, you hear Electric Ladyland. I went to that studio. My studio is very, very similar in size and dimension and equipment. And I still have all the old Uri limiters. And so what I find, the thing that you miss and what you really loved about analog was overloading the tape. You know, that's still the best limiter ever made. You know, you smash a 2-track mix into like a 1/2-inch tape deck. There's nothing finer than that, you know. And so what I do is I typically I get the Apollo interface, which allows you to record your plugins, which
Yeah.
is which saves horsepower later. So I always I do a little more limiting, and I push the preamps. You know, and I got some tube preamps. Plus the knees love when you push them. It's distortion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It may be subtle, but that's what you don't get when you just plug in
Yeah.
straight
Yeah.
Pro Tools. So and that's what I'm doing. I'm taking the best of the analog world, and I, you know, I use take advantage. They have wonderful EQ, and then on the backside, I don't have to do too much. It's like if you were cooking, and I use cooking in production uh,
It's like
compare
arranging.
a lot. Yeah, it's you start with a good cut of meat. You know, you don't overcook it. You know, you don't over salt it. You know, it's very similar. You don't put too much EQ on the way in. But I do EQ and compress more than I would if I were doing analog because it's better EQ, it's better distortion. But there are some wonderful plugins now. Jeez, I mean,
Yeah, that's that. Okay, so when you're recording, do you go for all the? Are you for the amplifier guitar plugins? Kind of. Does that work in your system as well?
oh yeah, I have the 11 rack, which is an amazing piece of gear. I mean, the Echoplex in the 11 rack is like stunning. I mean, I had 3 Echoplexes in my life. I lost them in a fire. I had a fire, but for all intents and purposes, it's an Echoplex. And you don't have to play around with that tape. You know,
All right.
those things were a pain.
Yeah.
I have the Space Echo. So, but typically, if for lead, I'll take that any day because you got any sound right at your hands. Boom. But now for rhythm, there's a certain way to get a great rhythm sound, and you know, I haven't had a plugin get close to that. Cranking up a Marshall, or I got a couple of Voxes. I got a couple old Supros. I got some killer amps. You crank that up. That's, you know, to get a rhythm sound is not. Yeah, get your pedal board the hell out of here. And these guys, they go through all these pedals when they're doing rhythm. It's like, man, have you heard the Who? Have you ever heard Back in Black? You know, or Van Halen 1? Okay,
Yeah.
that's an amp cranked up. Okay, sorry, I haven't heard anything get close to that sound.
Yeah.
So that typically, yeah, I'll do the rhythm guitars. You know, and you put amazing. You know, you got $2,000 mic, you got an $8,000 U47 over here, but yeah, sometimes you put a Beta 57 on a Marshall cabinet, you know, or a 421 Sennheiser, and okay, you got a couple $100 at mics. That's still a sound that you cannot get any other way.
Yes.
That's where I usually use. That would be akin to the cement blocks, you know, the substructure of a house. Okay,
Yeah.
you're building a
The
house.
bass.
Yeah,
The ASE.
yeah. You need big drums. You know, you need analog drums, breathing. You know,
Yeah.
same thing with bass. You know, like so many times the guys will just do a direct bass. It's like, man, you're missing all that dimension. You hear like Led Zeppelin, particularly.
Yeah.
You hear a Sun amp cranked up, or an SVT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I got some great old amps here. We have a lot of fun.
I think it's neat that you opened up for Van Halen when you were right out of your teens, or
Yeah,
still a teenager,
20 years old.
20 years old. So
Yeah.
it interesting to note the reason Van Halen picked you is because you didn't just copy him.
Yeah, exactly.
You weren't just an. You're not trying to be just like Van Halen.
They had that problem. They said, man, we'd have a band, they'd doing okay. Then third gig, the singer's going, hey, look at all the people in here. Like
Trying to be Diamond Dave.
Yep. And then the singer, and those, there's nothing worse than a guy that's just learning how to tap.
Yeah.
If people's loved ones are in danger, you go to a music store. There's a guy.
Yeah. Music store chops.
It's so funny because the typical question, hey man, did Eddie ever show you anything? More than anything, just to be a cool guy. He was actually a very beautiful, very sweet soul. He's just a good guy. All he wanted to do was play music. And he was very sensitive. He was totally into the brother thing. That's what attracted them, because him and Alex,
Mm-hmm.
although they used to beat the hell out of each other. My brothers and I kind of gave that up. Right about the time we start making money with these, thinking, well,
Yeah. Fisticuffs aren't helping anything.
Especially that thick head of his. Although I've reached an impasse with my brothers on a particular, we reached loggerheads on this particular project that we're supposed to do, and I'm thinking about taking a swipe at one of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how it turns
All right.
out.
So you have with your brothers your first album was it 1979?
Yeah.
1979. These are songs you wrote when you were teenagers,
Yeah, there's a song called Nothing, and
which you still do.
yeah, we certainly do.
It's probably every night you play. That's probably.
Yes, we do. And I remember the review came back and said genuine teenage cool.
Okay, well, that works.
I wrote it when I was a teenager, and Hermie finished it. Yeah, at that time, my brother Hermie was the main songwriter, but that was my contribution. And that's the one that Eddie liked. He said, his invitation, go, what's that one?
Yeah.
His
It
description.
kind of has a vibe of what's Alex Harvey.
Yeah.
What's that song that da 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 dum 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 dum?
Yeah, nothing.
Midnight Moses.
Yeah.
It kind of has a Midnight Moses vibe.
Yeah. And I was listening to all that the British stuff at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. But I remember he said, yeah, we had this guy opening up for us, was getting booed off the stage, and I heard. One night I hear, whoa, all this screaming. So I go to Rudy Lair, and it's like, man, Fleischman's having a good gig for you. He said, no, some other band, something brothers. He said, they're running all over the stage. So Eddie's description was, there you guys were, man, 5 wops.
Yeah.
And he said,
So what did you sound like then?
oh,
Because I've seen video footage on your local talk show. That was one sound.
oh yeah. We did. It's funny, because we had done some reggae for a while, but at that time, our main thing, especially live, when we went on tour, kind of new wave.
Okay.
Cheap Trick had just come out, the Cars had just come out, the Police. That was a nice era.
Okay.
Cheap Trick, man. At that time, they were so freaking.
Now, as you moved on into the '80s, did your sound change?
Yeah, well, then we did a second tour with Van Halen. By then, they had focused more, and they were getting. Sorry, I'll take a little credit. Eddie gave us credit too. He said they didn't want me to play keyboards. They were like, nobody wants to see your ass on keyboards. Hey, how about Granatis? They went over, and they weren't even a headliner, and we were doing a lot of keyboard at that time.
Yeah.
He said, of course.
The one song did you have two guys playing keyboards?
Yeah,
on that television show?
Yeah, we would.
Joey and Hermie?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a fun show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was still, I was like 19, I think.
The way they talk in 1979.
Yeah,
That guy, that was fun.
but it was so cool. And he said, "Yeah, oh, I did." Because he would even tell us, he'd say, "Hey, look, I'll take something from you. I'll twist it around a little bit. You might think you recognize it." He said, but he even cracked up. He said, "How you like how I took your keyboard sound?" He said, "Of course, I put it through my phaser and the Marshall." He was talking about
Cradle Will Rock.
Cradle Will Rock.
Yeah,
That was the first time he played keyboard.
yeah,
And then Jump, of course, that was their first number one. So,
yeah.
but yeah,
And that
obviously,
took him years to record that
yep, yep.
because of all the
He told us the whole story, man. They fought him every step of the way, Dave and Ted. Like, man, you're nobody wants to go. And God, that's what I loved about Eddie. I mean, he completely redefined guitar, and then he redefined keyboard to a
Yeah.
large degree. Because after that, Journey and all these other bands, even Tom Petty, they had that one song, which I hated. It was like totally keyboard. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a band with Rickenbackers.
Yeah.
Everybody went that direction. So obviously, yeah, we changed. We went a little more electronic, you know, little less, the bluesy thing. But everything goes in circles.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Constantly evolving. So as I was saying, you guys had, like, in recent years, the continuing adventures of the Granati Brothers, which was a 2002 thing,
Yeah.
and then more recently the show.
Yes. Yeah. Now, see, that's us in a nutshell, because we did some old songs, we
Yeah.
did some new songs, and that part in the middle where Joey goes off on the keyboard, which was always a big part of our show.
So Joey also plays bass, right?
Yes.
So he's what other instruments is he great at?
Those two mainly, and he's a fantastic singer.
Okay.
He's probably the best musician out of all of us,
Okay.
as the most accomplished.
Okay.
I'd say Hermie's probably the most natural. Uh, yeah, it's just, unfortunately, they're keyboard players. They're never going to be as cool as me. You know what I mean? Or as
Because you're a guitar player.
yeah, yes, right, exactly. They're always going to have a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
I
So
like- we're very similar, man.
so checking out the show, there's a song called "It Was You."
Yeah, and that was on our first record.
Okay, first record meaning 1979.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and then we redid. I know it's a great song. Yeah, it's just very Beatley, and
I love it.
yeah, it got played in New York a good bit back in the day.
I would now I got to look up the original version of it.
Yeah.
You break out the Rickenbackers.
Oh yeah, baby. Yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, I have the 12 string, the 6 string, and the bass.
Mm-hmm.
Rickenbacker collection, and I'm in love with the Vox Valvetronics amp. I just think it's a perfect amp because it's got the tube circuit, and it's basically what I'm doing here. It's a combination of old and new. But the one thing that I always try to stress to my students, and we've maintained all along, with one noted exception, is instead of arguing over which way is good and which way is better, okay, why don't you do both?
Yeah.
Like back to the teaching.
Try it out.
Instead of saying, "Oh, you're not a musician unless you read," or you get the guys, "Oh, I don't need to read." Why don't you do both? Okay.
Yeah.
Or what's better, Mac or PC? I have Mac and PC. I
Same
have
here.
and Fender. I have analog and digital.
Yep.
I eat very healthy food, and I eat cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
I mean, but the one noted exception is, I like women and women alone. Call me
Okay.
old school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not ready to cross that barrier. Yeah, why don't you just try both?
Yeah, you don't have to.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
You don't have to.
Too Catholic and too much of a ladies' man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always joke about that. But hey, tell you what, I got an appointment coming. I think he's texting in. So
Yeah. So I want to thank you for all this. It's like,
We
so
need
what is in your future? Say what is going on with your music school. For those about the Rock Academy.
We're starting a new session up
You're
in
starting up a new session?
in 2 weeks, and I just got word. Part of what I had the conflict with my brothers over. There's a big Christmas album being done here, with the proceeds going for the young people on the spectrum of Asperger's
Mm-hmm.
and autism, and some of them are on the show. I did 2 tracks. Well, the song we're going to do, Carol of the Bells, I'm going to do it with my youth academy.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, so that's what's in store.
But
So,
yeah, that's what we're
how
doing.
long are your classes?
Under 3 hours.
Yeah, meaning how many weeks?
Oh, it's an 8-week course.
It's an 8-week course, and you do these throughout the year.
Yeah, but I got to grab this guy.
Alrighty,
I think he's lost.
alrighty. Thank you so much, David.
Hey, God bless you, brother. Stay in touch, man.
Absolutely, Lord of the Strings. You're my tribe.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a
You
gift.
guitar nerds, David Granati, Pittsburgh area, musical spirit. Thank you.
I'm in my spare time.
Thank you so much.